Okay, I think that is live, hopefully. You'll have to let me know in the chat if we are live, because last time I got this wrong and I was live in a different stream by accident. So is it working? Let's have a look. Can I see the public view? I can. Let's just play that and see. Yes. Okay, it is working. I can pause that. So today we're going to be playing around with the Raspberry Pi. I've got one on my desk just here. This is the Raspberry Pi A+. It's an older one. So this is the 256 megabyte version. There is a 512 megabyte version available now, but I don't have that one. I've just got the cheap one. I picked this up for about £12, I think, delivered from eBay. So hi to everyone in the chat. It's nice to see you here. It's a bit of a short notice thing, just because I haven't posted anything in a while. And I've been doing a little bit of development on the Raspberry Pi, and I want to share some of it with you. I haven't shared it up to now because basically I wasn't sure what I was doing, but now I sort of know what I'm doing. Then I'm happy to share it. What we're going to do today is we're going to hopefully do two things, but we might only get through one. We're going to interface a few buttons with the Raspberry Pi. Probably shouldn't have done that because I haven't programmed those GPIOs in yet. And we're also going to look at maybe using the OMX player, which is a way of playing audio or videos, multimedia from the command line interface. You're just watching an ad. Okay, I'll give everyone a second. I didn't know it had ads on this. I don't know. There's probably a setting somewhere. It's probably just a general setting for all the videos. So I will wait while you watch your ad, and then you'll have to let me know when it's finished. It is a late one though. I've only got back from work about 2 hours ago, so I've been chilling out, and then I just decided I'd do something before I go to bed. So we'll probably go a little bit past the time that I put on there, which was only for an hour. We'll go a little bit past that, I think, but not too much further. Now, we need to log into the Pi. I've gone ahead and done most of the networking stuff already. I've also got it set up with a Samba share. So if I find that programming over the serial connection is a bit rubbish, the SSH connection, then we'll jump over and we'll use the Samba share instead, and we'll program on the PC and then just drag the files over if we need to. So we'll start off by connecting to our Raspberry Pi. Now I've set it up so it will be Raspberry Pi .local on my network. I don't know why, but recently I could usually connect to my Raspberry Pi. It would send out its host name and my network would recognize it just as Raspberry Pi. But I bought a new router, and now for some reason I have to, I assume it's some kind of DNS server thing that the router's running, but I have to put local at the end. But it's not really a massive problem. So if we just click open on that, and then it will show up here. The host key is not registered. That's cool. It's because it's the first time I've done it on this machine. And then we'll try and make this as large as the space allows. There we go. Maybe there's a way of setting the thing so you can see the font a little easier. Now, is appearance. Change that to 14. Apply. Is that better? AJ said, hey David, how's your weather station doing? Waiting for the DS 18B20 sensors to play with. They seem a lot nicer than the old analog TMP36GZ. Yes, they do. It's still going, in fact. Let's have a look at it, shall we? Graph. Oops, I spelled that wrong. So here it is. It's still working. I'm waiting for it to die so that I can do a video about it, but the last recorded entry from the little Wi-Fi outdoor temperature sensing thing was at, I can't, oh, it actually says here, doesn't it? It was at 9:56, so a little over 8 minutes, or whatever. I can't do maths, but you can figure that out. So it's still going, which is really annoying because I want to do a video about it. But the you'll see at the start of this graph here, the voltage was 5.15, but it was reading below. I don't know why the ADC is not working, or that it's not working well, or I'm reading it too quickly or at the wrong time. Or it might be unexpectedly closed network connection. Oh, the Raspberry Pi's fine. I don't really understand what's going on there. We'll start that up again in a second. Let's just check I'm still live. Yeah, okay. So the voltage has dropped significantly, so it's now down to 4.42 from 5.15. Now I think it's reading about 400 millivolts below, so that's probably at around 4.8, which is where it's going to stick for a while. So what it's done, it's dropped the large amount of voltage that will be in those nickel metal hydride batteries, and they're going to sit around 1.2 volts for a while, and I don't know how long that's going to be. And you can see over here, we started this on the 14th of January. It is now the 25th of January. So I expect it to probably go for about a month, annoyingly. So we'll see what happens with it. But that's where it is at the moment. Let's get back into that Pi. I'm not sure why it dropped out. And I'm going to have to change. Well, that's good, isn't it? Don't want to log in as that. That's a YouTube URL. I think that's the one for this stream. Let's change these settings back. Change the settings, appearance, change 14. Okay, apply. Right, we'll log in. I'm using the default login because that's just what I generally do if it's not connecting to the outside network. Oh crap, what is it? Oh, it's Raspberry, isn't it? Okay, so it should log us in, and then we're presented with this screen. Now I'm going to navigate to the documents directory, I think, and then we'll start up a new Python file. cd/home/pi/documents. Okay, so now we want to start a new file, so sudo nano, and then what should we call it? Oh, well, this is meant to be to do with the radio cube that I created a long time ago, so let's call it radio cube.py, and this will create a blank document for us to use. I need to be able to see the chat, really. Let's try and work that out. There we go. Okay, now the first thing we're going to want to do, because we're using the Raspberry Pi's GPIO, is we're going to need to import the files for that. So rpi.gpio as GPIO, and then we're probably going to want to add some. Eric says, Psh, not using Vim. If you want to tell me what Vim is, then that would be great. I'd love to know. The title of the stream probably tells you I'm not an expert in any of this. I'm just playing along. And then we're going to import time as well, because I don't want all of this stuff to be flying out on my display all that quickly. So we're going to just put a few little sleeps in there, I think. And we'll need to do some setup for our pins. Now, I've got these set up on The top one's 3.3 volts, the next one's pin 2, pin 3 and pin 4, and that's using the Broadcom pin assignments. And then this one is the third pin in from the top, and that is ground. So I'm looking for a low signal on these pins, because I'm gonna put a pull up on them. So can I launch Vim now? So if I just, whoops, wrong thing. So if I just write this out and exit, sudo vim. No? Is it something you have to install? Well, we're just going to go and use Nano for now. It's easy enough. So we've imported time, and next we need to set up our GPIO. So GPIO.setup, oh no, set mode, and then we want GPIO.BCM. So I don't do a lot of stuff with the Raspberry Pi very often, and if I do, I generally copy people's code because I find Python to be jarring. It's a little bit, I find it difficult to use. I understand, well, yeah, I do understand the flow of the program, but there are little syntax differences between C and C++ type languages that really throw me off. So ordinarily I would want to end that statement with a semicolon, but apparently that's not a thing you do in Python. And so loads of problems with my programs have been because I've been messing around with syntax, or mixing up my syntax is what I mean. And the next thing we want to do is set up these inputs. So I want to have GPIO.setup. I might have to look this up and make sure that I'm doing this correctly, but we'll start with it was pin 2, 3 and 4, I think. It might be 2, 3, 1, 2, no, it's 2, 3 and 4, I'm sure it is. So GPIO.out and GPIO.in, whoops, and GPIO.PUD underscore up, and that should set up pin 2 as an input and with a pull-up. Hopefully. We'll find out eventually. Now what I want to do next is should we define a statement? Yeah, let's define a function, and we'll call it pushed. That'll do. And we don't need anything in it, or do we? Yeah, why not? Let's put something in there like, no, for now we won't do that for now. And then one thing I don't like about this is it would be really great if Nano just automatically formatted your statement for you. So if it put indents in here. Now I don't know exactly how many spaces you need to put in. Does anyone actually know? I'm just going to put 3 because I think that's right. Or it might just it might not care, and it's just as long as it's expecting an indent, then it's fine. But we'll put 3 for now. If it doesn't work, we'll go back and change it. So in here, I would like to just have a print statement. So print, do I need brackets? I'm not sure. We won't put any. Button pressed. And then that's it. There's no open or closed brackets, which freaks me out. Is it 4? Okay, we'll put 4 in. So it brings it up to the line where the function name is. That's useful. As long as it's always the same. God, that's frustrating. What I would love to have is something like Notepad++ or something for the command line would be nice. But I haven't, so we'll be using this instead. Now, next, what I'm going to do, I think we'll create let's do just a while. Well, just do while true. I mean, it's not ideal. And then we'll just leave it like that. And now we're going to add an event to our button. This is, while true isn't a good idea. Don't go for that usually. Like, I'm just doing this because it's easy and hopefully it works. Usually I'll add a an exit condition, but I know that I can just press Control-C to get out of this thing. So, and we're not doing anything too crazy. I need to add brackets if my Python version is greater than 2.7. It is 2.7.9, so let's add some brackets in. Oops. Uh-oh. There we go. I don't know if I do need to add brackets, but we'll put them in anyway. Put them in there anyway. Now we need to add an event to our GPIO. So this is one of the buttons, and I think it is this button here should be 2. It's the furthest one up. It's the purple cable. Super Boobaloo says you could connect using VNC and use the GUI editor on the Pi. Yeah, the problem with I'm perfectly happy doing that on a Raspberry Pi 3 or a Raspberry Pi 2 because it's still kind of responsive. They have a fair amount of memory of RAM, but the Raspberry Pi A+, this specific one only has 256. In fact, I can show you. Control-O to write out, isn't it? And then exit. So free-m. So this gives me the free number of megabytes available. And you'll see that we've got 49 megabytes free out of a total of 181. So there isn't a lot of memory to play with. And so using a graphical user interface and trying to do some programming at the same time makes the whole thing pretty darn slow. So I prefer just to edit in here or use the Samba share and drag things over. In fact, let me see if I can show you the Samba share without showing you every single one of my folders. Yeah, I think I can do that. That'll do. Right, so we've got 2 folders in here. This is the Samba share on my network. And because I'm logged into it already, I can go in and have a look at the stuff that's inside the Pi, which is great. So we're currently in Documents, and that's where my file is stored. And it shows you when it was last edited or last saved. Or at least that's not quite an accurate time, as it wasn't 2 minutes ago. Still, you can do that, and I can edit in the edit in Windows and drag it over. But I quite like it in here so that I can immediately jump in and test it. So we were doing this GPIO adding an event. Let me just get rid of that window. If anything starts happening to the stream, I can't watch that at the moment because I've got chat on the other side, so I can't see it. So you'll have to let me know if anything happens. But we're going to use something called add event detect. I'm pretty sure they're underscores. So we'll try that. Now I might have to look it up because, was it 2? Pin 2, yeah. And we're going to look for, because we've got a pull up, we're going to look for GPIO falling. And these are great, these add event detects, because it essentially does your debounce for you. So you don't need to have a capacitor on your button as long as you set a debounce time on this event detect thing. So we're going to add a callback, and that's so we can trigger this function. And we're going to put callback equals, and we're going to use a lambda as well. Is it X? I think it's X. I'm not sure. We're going to go for X. Yeah, I think it is. We'll go for this. We're going for pushed. I do hope pushed isn't some kind of key thing on here, because, you know, if you're writing things in any program, sometimes a function is already defined. So pushed might already be a function of, I don't know, something in the Raspberry Pi GPIO or in time. And I just don't know it's called that, but it will tell me, I'm sure, that I've defined it again. And then this is the cool bit. You've got a variable you can add called bounce time. And let's set this as, I don't know, let's set it as 3 seconds, just so that we can, it's in milliseconds, so we can demonstrate that I can't push it more than once. And I think that is everything, I hope. That should be enough to show us everything. We don't need import time actually, but I'm going to leave it in there. So let's write that, and then let's exit, and then we need to run that. So we need Python. I don't think I need to do this as a super user. So radiocube.py. Now what we should see on the screen is nothing for now. Oh, hello. Indentation expected after indented block. Line 14. Okay, line 14. Anyone know how to get line numbers up in here? No. We're going to have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oops. Okay, so I've just put a fake indent in there. Hopefully that's enough. I don't think you need anything in that section, do you? Apparently you do. What do you need in while true? Anyone know? I'm going to look it up. What is the syntax for a blank while loop? Ah, brilliant. Okay. We can type pass. Oh, I want to use the while loop later, so I'm going to leave it in there so I don't get confused and forget it. And it's also a great place to put your exit statements if you want them. So it's a good practice to have them at least. Oh, just deleted stuff. Write that out. And then we can run it, and hopefully one of these buttons will do something. Oh, something else. Right. A physical pull-up resistor is fitted on this channel. While true. Name true isn't. Oh, of course. David Watts is an idiot. Someone didn't put capital letters on true. I think that's why. Let's try that instead. Okay. A physical pull-up resistor is fitted on this channel. These are just, we can disable that actually. Let's get out of that, and we'll disable the blooming GPIO warnings. It is possible to do that, I think. Is it set warnings? Yes, it is. Oh no, it isn't. No, set warnings, not warning. I've clicked off the chat again. Set warnings. And exit. There we go. Right, so it is right at the bottom of the window. Can you even see that? You can. Okay, that's fine. Now, if I push one of these buttons, I think it's this one. It's not. Is it this one? No. It's none of the buttons. Right, let me just have a look and make sure that we've got this right. Let's try, oops. Yeah, we don't need those resistors. I was wiring that up for a different purpose. So this button is working and I'm pressing it a lot and it will only work once every 3 seconds. So hopefully that is good enough. Now let's exit out that. I'm going to press Control C. That takes us out. And now that is successful. I tell you what, let's do something. Let's do something with the OMX player. Now I have a little audio thing here. Audio thing? What do you call those? A little Bluetooth speaker. And we're going to plug this into the Raspberry Pi. I've got a little 3.5mm jack here. And where's the other end of that? Aha, okay. I'll turn this on. Plug the other end in. And actually, before I do this, let's exit out of there. And I'll put in some code so you can see how you launch the OMX player. Now it's actually, I've had to write it down because it's some weird code. Is that, yeah, radio 4, that's fine. So I wanted it to be a radio cube. And that meant that what I had to do was play internet streams essentially. Hold on a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste some code now. In fact, I won't paste it. I'll write the first part of it and we'll paste the URL because that will take too long to write in. So OMX Player is already installed on any one of these new Raspberry Pi images you get. So it's OMX Player, and then I want to set the output device. Can you see the Raspberry Pi at the moment? Not very well. So this is the only output device I'm going to be using, and this is the default essentially, but it can also output audio on the HDMI. So we want to use the standard 3.5mm jack. So OMX Player, and then we want dash, and I think it's O local, and then do we want to set, we'll set a timeout, so which is useful if you're using streams, because then it will time itself out if it can't connect. And then we need a radio stream. Now I'm using a radio 4 stream and hoping that the vocal stuff doesn't get picked up by the copyright police, but if it does, then it does. So I'll paste that in there with a right click, and then we'll just press enter and it should start playing. Hopefully. Okay.
Capability of the smartphone social media conversation.
I don't know if you can hear that. Or hopefully you can.
On young people who I had to switch off the computer and leave, and that was quite easy. For
So
families
it's
look out for me, but when you've got a smartphone.
So it's playing through the Raspberry Pi. You can see that it's kicking out some information on our terminal here. It's telling us that we're playing at sample rate of 48,000. Let's just turn that down. You can actually turn it down with the OMX player using keystrokes, but you can also quit with a keystroke. Just by pressing Q, it will quit the player, and it says have a nice day, which is lovely. But we're going to be trying to do that with Python. So if I go back in to our file, we're going to need to set a few more things up, not an awful lot. What we'll do is we'll start off with, we need to import something else. Now there are a few ways of doing this actually. So OMX Player is essentially open source, but people have written wrappers for it. So in this scenario, a wrapper is something that you use to trigger this player and make it a bit easier to use. So the OMX Player has its OMX Player -wrapper, and it means that you can import this class that someone's built and it interfaces with the OMX Player. But I didn't like it very much. It seemed a bit laggy when you were trying to open and close it. So what I wanted to do is just write my own thing basically. And I stopped short of writing my own class because it's not something I've ever done before, writing a class for anything in any programming language apart from Java. And I did Java programming 12 years ago, and I only did it for a year and I hated it. So I won't be looking to write a class, but I will just write a bunch of functions, and I'll commit a programming sin and add some global variables into those functions. So I read recently, I was trying to find out a way of using variables in Python in a similar way that we do in C/C++, in the Arduino language, which a lot of people argue about whether it's C or C++ or whether it's none of the same or all of that stuff. But basically to me, the syntax is very similar to C++ and also to C. There are very little differences and very many similarities. So don't let people bully you into thinking that it's a lesser language, because it's pretty good. You just end up using a lot of people's libraries, which people think is lazy, I think. Anyway, Python. We're not going to be using someone's wrapper for this because it's difficult. If you're programming something and time is a variable you have to worry about, then using someone else's code it sort of introduces an unknown element. So I hated Java because I did that at university. I had to do a course on Java and I didn't know I was doing it, so I didn't like it. But anyway, it introduces timing elements you can't really predict, and I need it to be predictable, so we're going to be doing it ourselves. And to do this, we're going to use import subprocess. And this means that we can create sub-processes. We can trigger the OMX player from within our code and have it assigned to essentially a variable that we can then control. So it creates an object. So I'm using someone else's class in the same way, but this is part of Python. So subprocess is going to allow us to launch the OMX player from our program, and we're going to do it with that button. So when we press that button, we're going to be able to play Radio 4. Now this is sort of the basis of making this radio cube. I won't be using buttons in my radio cube to play any audio. I'm going to be using what is a stupid, really stupid method of LDRs on the outside of the cube so that you turn the cube to change the radio station. It is stupid, it's not ideal, but I like the idea, and so I'm just going to make it. But you know, everyone can just make it with a button, that's fine, but I just fancied just something interesting. And no doubt I will take it apart and not use it as a radio in the future. But what we'll do is we'll start doing this. So let's put that URL in as a variable, shall we? So let's call it radio 4 equals, do we want single or double? Let's go with single, and I think it's probably, is it still in the paste thing? It is, there we go. So we'll leave that, that's our source URL essentially, so we'll leave that there. And we won't be changing it, not at least in this way. If I was going to put loads more in, I'd put them in a list, which is an array of values. Let me just have a drink. So next up we want to start our process, our sub-process. So let's call it radio process. No, actually, let's call it radio gaga. Just because I like that song. Now we want to say sub-process. So that's what we've imported up here. Sub-process dot p open. So radio gaga is going to equal the object this thing's going to create. And then it's bracket. Is there another bracket in there? I'm not sure. We'll just go with that one for now. I think there might be, but I'll just have a look at the syntax. OMX player. And then it expects, because you're putting spaces in, and these are the things you're sticking on the end of OMX player, you have to put them in separately for this. So we need dash O, and then we need the value for that, which will be local. In fact, to make this a little bit clearer to read, I'm just going to pop some spaces in here. Dash local, and then we want radio 4, and let me have a look at the syntax for this because I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. Radio 4 stdin equals sub process. I won't pretend to know what stdin stands for. And then there's our pipe. So stdin equals subprocess.pipe. And that is going to send that out as our subprocess. I'm not explaining that too well, but you'll get the idea when it starts going, or when we start making mistakes and it starts complaining about how the pipe doesn't exist. Right, next, what we want to do is, actually, no, we don't want that there, do we? Let's just, we wanted that inside our definition, didn't we? So we need to cut that text. We need to start selecting it first. So Control A, and we'll mark down, and then, sorry, it was Alt A, and then Control standard input. Thank you very much. And then we're going to put it into our defined function. And then how do we paste? Do we just paste uncut text? Control U. Oops. Oh, there's no, I don't think there's an undo, is there? All right, we'll manually delete. Okay. So hopefully this is going to run our radio player. So let's write this out and then we'll exit. Now luckily the OMX player, when you close your process, the pipe's also going to close as well. So we'll just, whoops, let's run our Python code. Now it's not going to start the radio until we press this button here. I can't see if I'm, yeah, there we go. So I'll turn it up. And you should see on the screen, it will say button pressed. And you'll also get to see this audio codec stuff, which also gets printed as well. No. God, I'm glad that didn't work actually. We'll Control C out of that. So there is a problem. Line 3 pushed. File GPIO, add detect to GPIO falling, bounce time, radio pushed, radio gargars. Got multiple values for keyword argument stdin. Did you now? Ah, yes. I've forgotten something. So, I can't see the chat again. Someone's probably screaming at me because I didn't get the syntax right here. You know how I said these were a list, or it was the things that you put at the end of the OMX player? Well, essentially they need to be in a list. So I forgot to put my brackets in, which is annoying. So that one needs to go there. Write that out, exit, try again, and hope it works. Okay. This is what happened last time, so we'll see. So I press this button and hopefully we'll hear Radio Floor blaring out of this music player thing. And
these economic gamble.
We do.
Down with his fellow Indians.
Roll tandem reporting.
So hopefully you can just hear that. I don't know how loud it is, but I'll just turn it down. Now we didn't implement any way to close that, which would have been nice. We've got 3 buttons here. I put 3 in just in case one of the pins that I chose didn't work as an input. And I also wanted one to close it. Let's do some music there. Let's just close it down. It is still playing. And I'm just going to quit by Control C. And it should close itself. There we go. Have a nice day. I didn't have to close it. It closed itself, luckily, because it detected that the program was no longer running. So, but wouldn't it be nice to have a way of closing that for ourselves using one of the buttons? I think it would. So let's do that now. This is where it becomes a bit convoluted. It becomes a bit difficult to predict what your system's going to do because you're relying on this other process. You're relying on OMX player to quit. Now you don't necessarily know how long that's going to take or how much audio it's still got buffered to play. There are all sorts of variables, so you just have to go with the longest length of time to wait that you can. And so that's why we've imported time, and we're going to get the program to either wait using the function that's available for sub-processes, and we'll see if that works. We should wait till the sub-processor is finished, or we're going to just use a time.sleep. So first off, we're going to let's define this radio gaga thing as something that starts straight away. Oh no, we'll just create a new definition. So define pushed, closed. Let's create a new one. So 1, 2, as you've said, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to need to close this process. Actually, is Radio Gaga going to be exposed to a close? It might be. Let's give it a go. No, we want to Radio Gaga dot. Now, do you remember I showed you on purpose how to close the OMX player? And that's, you press Q on the keyboard. Because we can send it keyboard commands, we're going to just try and send it Q. So Radio Gaga standard input output, or standard input, oh, spelt that wrong, which I now remember is why I thought I knew what it was. And then we're just going to write Q to that pipe. If I can get the syntax correct. And Eric's here. Hey, Eric. And then we're going to do radio. I've spelt radio wrong there, haven't I? No one picked up on that though. Thanks for letting me know. Radio Gaga dot wait. I keep doing that, putting those at the end. I've just done it here, haven't I? Yeah, I don't think it's exposed. I'm going to give it a go all the same and see what happens. See if it's then registered in sub-process. We'll see, and see if it's exposed through this sub-process. We'll see. So we'll do that. Then we want to add another GPIO setup. Wouldn't it be lovely if you could copy and paste? Actually, you probably can. In fact, we will give that a go, because my typing skills are awful. I can copy and paste this, I'm sure I can. And right click. Yeah, you can. And we need to put that as 3. And we need to change our lambda to closed. Now let's see if this works. 3 seconds, 3 seconds. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I think that should be everything. Let's write that out and we'll exit. Okay. Python radio queue. So again, nothing happens at the start. We need to press a button. And then eventually, after it buffers a second, because I'm using really crappy Wi-Fi and connecting to it over the network. So it's playing, and now I need to find out which one button 3 is, which should be this yellow one because it's the next pin along.
Well,
and
now that you're 33, it's probably about time. Do you think so? You can do it.
I think by just pushing it in there, I've pressed it, haven't I?
Like I said, passing you the bottle. Don't worry about your
No,
baby life.
is that, there we go. So it has closed it. We'll try that again. It's going to exit out. Now that I've plugged the wire in the right way. I haven't though. I just triggered it to go low. Okay, so we'll try that again. And first off, let's see what happens when I press the close button without a process running. I think it's going to throw me an error and say that it doesn't exist. Yeah, so the name Radio Gaga is not defined. I don't know if I need to run it again. We'll try that. So we know that when we run it, we can close it. So if I run it, button pressed, we're going to play the radio now.
Ate quietly, accompanying the fish with sips of
And then I can close it.
the embers of the fire.
Can I? No. Okay, so what does it say?
I'd wrap myself in a blanket.
Global name Radio Gaga is not defined, so it isn't exposed. Okay. So Control C. We'll just close that. I need chat to see if anyone's telling me that I've done it wrong. And let's nano back in. So what can I do to change that? Well, I can just not have it inside functions. That would be easy enough. Or we could just have one function. I tell you what, let's do it inside a single function. Not function is what I mean, sorry. We're going to do it in, we're going to do it inside our while. So let's say if if playback equals true, and then we're going to close it here. So radio gar dot stdin dot write q. Well, declaring the variable outside the function then means if I declare it inside a function, it creates a new one, which is frustrating. So Python doesn't see variables in the same way as it would in, say, writing inside the Arduino IDE. You can globalize it, but this way it won't work. So I could globalize it. I could make a global variable outside of any of the functions. But what we'll do is we'll do it this way because I think it's interesting to have it in this while loop and give ourselves some true or false bits. Let's create playback equals false. False has to be capitalized. If playback equals true. Oh no, I don't want that, do I? If playback equals true and stop equals true. I don't know if and works actually. Capitals. If playback equals true and stop equals true, and then if playback equals false and play equals true, we'll do something there, which will be to open this pipe. Okay, so let's delete these bits. We don't need, actually let's put the weight in there. And then inside these ones, we can just say play equals false, capitals. And again in here, we're going to say oh no, stop equals false, play equals true. So when we push the button, we want to say that play equals true, and if it's not stop, is it? If playback equals false, yeah, okay. And then inside this one here, we want to say playback equals true. This is a bit of a roundabout way of doing it, isn't it? Yeah, you're right. Okay. I don't think I wanted to do that. Do I want to do that? It's no different. You're right. What do I want to do? The reason I want to do that is because I can't define two global variables. And I don't think if I set it in one function as a global, I can change it in another. I think it can just be read from another. Is that correct? You're right about the parentheses. Don't worry if I'm not saying anything, I'm thinking. Yeah, you're right. I don't know where my mind was at there. Let's oh crumbs, I don't want to delete everything. Is there any undo? There isn't, is there? Oh well, we'll just have to type it out again. Let's do this properly. So okay. You're right, let's just make them globals. Save, modify. Let's just exit, and we won't save, and we'll just edit it again. That's easier. Oh, I've just run it rather than editing. So, okay, we'll do this again. Just to make this a little easier to see. Global radio gar. That's right, isn't it? Okay, so we've globaled that, and then we should be able to write to it here, hopefully. Let's add a closing statement here so we can see. I'm not sure these brackets are necessary. Okay, so if we just add that as global, then it should work. Well, if I defined, Leonid, if I defined radio 4 up here, and then put it into a function without globalizing that variable, globalizing, what an awful word, making the variable global, then if I define again radio 4 in here, it's not, you don't need that, it will create a new variable called radio 4 within that function, and it won't affect this variable up here. So that's what's confused, has confused me in the past about Python is that variables aren't always global. So if I write that out and then we exit and then we try that again, and hopefully it won't throw the same error. Now it will still throw the same error if I try and close, or a similar error. So if I try and close it, will tell me that it doesn't exist, which is one of the reasons I didn't want to put the open in a function, because it hasn't been triggered yet. So it would need to be triggered first in order to be able to close it. So let's just jump out of that. But being a radio, you probably would want it to start up with a radio station anyway. So if we start the Radio 4 program.
Late night poetry program.
Late night poetry program. That's what we're listening to now. And then if we try and close it,
I'll never have her.
closing OMX player, fingers crossed.
At least it's...
And there we go. So we can start it again. Because we've defined it as a global variable, we haven't done anything essentially. It's still defined within this function. We're redefining it. So we can start again. And I'm going to close it as soon as possible, just to make sure that it's not going to mess around with anything. Start again. Wait till it's begun. Is it going to start?
A poet prepared to tackle...
Okay, so yeah, it works well enough. So there are two things that we can do here. So we can use, let's just exit out of here. So you'll notice in here that I used radiogaga.wait. And what that does is I've sent something to the process, and then it's going to wait till that process is finished. Now, if I were to say wait on the subprocess.popen, it would either close that pipe, it would close that subprocess, or it just wouldn't wait for anything to happen, because that's going to continue streaming. There's no end clause in that radio stream. So, but I believe it would just call it to close. But what we're doing here is trying to close it safely, normally. So the program expects to close with a Q input. So we're going to send that, and then we're going to just wait for it to finish. And what wait does, it stops everything else happening. It will stay here just at the end of this line, waiting to go on to the next one until Radio Gaga has finished. Alternatively, we could have written something like time.sleep and just taken a little bit of a guess at how long it would take. That would be 5 seconds of a wait time. And that's the difficulty here, because there is a difference in how long it takes to close, depending on how long it's been running, how much is in the buffer. So I think time.wait is better, but it does mean that changing your radio stations with the OMX player takes some time. Now there's a weird thing with the OMX player in that you can start more than one at a time. You can have many, many going. Excuse me. You can have a lot going at the same time. So when I first played about with this, I had several Radio 4 streams going at the same time, and they were ever so slightly out of sync, so it sounded really, really weird. James says, I think you need global in each function. Global allows you to edit the global variables within a function. I think if I wrote global Radio Gaga within each function, it would be I think it would be a redefinition of that function, of that variable, if I put it into another function. So I think you just do it once, as far as I know. But if you've done it before, let me know. But because I've put global, I've exposed that variable outside of the function. Ideally, what I would do is I would start Radio Gaga up here, because I'd want the radio to start playing whenever, and then, although this isn't possible unfortunately with OMX Player, is to change the station. So I would just change the station with a function. So I define it as global in this main list here, and then change it using functions. But OMX Player can't do that. You have to start a new one every time you want to load up a stream. So I think what we're going to do now, let's add another button, and we'll try changing radio stations, shall we? Now this is going to involve closing and opening a different one. Now we can do that in the functions that we've created here, that's fine. We've got this pushed function here, so what I'm going to do is just going to add in an argument here. So let's say station is my argument, and then I'm going to put station in here, and we'll create a list, I think, which is like an array. Well, we don't need to actually. We've got one that says radio 4 here already, so let's just put does anyone have a URL for a radio station that's a talk radio station? What is a talk radio station that's not horribly offensive? I can't think of one. They're almost all horribly offensive. Talk radio stream URL. I'm just Googling it. Oh, actually, what is the local radio station? I don't know. U8. Let's see if we can find just a Is there like an audio test stream? World service. I love that. Right. Radio streams, world service we want. BBC World Service. Let's see if we can find a.files.bbci. Right, almost there. Sorry, I should have prepped myself. I had Radio 6 Music because it's one that I want on my actual radio. But I realised I actually can't play that. I don't think I can play that either. World Service doesn't have a thing. Oh, how frustrating. Okay, let's go for Radio 5 Live. That's, I can't go for that either. Yes, I can. Radio 5 Live is a sports program, so we can listen to that. Okay, so I've got Radio 5 Live equals, and whoops, darn. And also we've got an extra line there we don't need. Does anyone know the difference between single quote marks and double in Python? I'd be interested to know what that was. Why have we got... Oh, it signifies an extra line, I see. So we have Radio 5 Live there, that's fine. And what we're going to do is add another one of these GPIO definitions in. We'll also have to add another GPIO setup. just paste that in. And this time we're going to put our arguments in, I think it's 4. We're going to put our argument in here. So pushed will equal radio 5 live, and the other pushed will equal radio 4. Now pushed is going to have to do something else here, because the radio will already be playing potentially, at least for the first one. In fact, we're going to do that to make this easier. We're going to start it off playing some radio. So radio Gaga will become a global variable here. And then we're going to, instead of putting a global there, we're going to say closed there. And that will close Radio Gaga, and then it will begin opening a new one after it's finished. So that's how we're going to overcome that. It's just by having it starting straight away. Is everyone following so far? Does everyone find this incredibly boring? It's not the most interesting stream, unfortunately. I mean, if it makes it more interesting, I could put my face on stream, but it's not got anything to do with what we're doing today, so I shan't. Oh God, I am drinking cold coffee though. Oops. So hopefully this will work. So we've got, actually it won't because we haven't set up our GPIO. So let's do that. GPIO dot setup bracket 4 comma GPIO in comma GPIO dot PUD underscore UP close bracket. So we have our closing the radio button, which we've just turned it off, and we have a button for playing radio. We can add in our variable here, I think, comma playing station. I think that should work, hopefully. So this should give us an output of the URL and also say playing. It should be able to go between 2 different stations and close the first one before opening the second. That is hopefully what's going to happen here. So let's write that out, and then we'll exit, and we'll see what new level of hell that I brought to myself by not doing this properly. There we go, there's another one. Station is not defined. Of course it isn't. Because we need to start it on a specific one, and I just put station up here, hadn't I? Yes. And we just want that to be radio 4 to start with. Okay. Yeah? I think this is right, hopefully. We'll see. Okay, well it started without throwing me an error.
Oh, Danny.
And there we go.
You have an American accent.
So let's just turn that down.
Gee, you haven't expected that.
And this is where I find out the Radio 5 stream doesn't work. So in order to close, it was this button here, wasn't it?
I'm surrounded by pencils. Very romantic.
Yeah, so we're closing the OMX player now. And then I'm going to start Radio 4 again, which was this one. Error. Broken pipe. Do you know why that is? I'm not sure. IO error. Let's try. Okay. I was pretty sure that was going to work. So, what's going on? So we've closed the process. We've exposed it as a global. I'm glad I said at the start this wasn't meant to be a tutorial. So the reason that didn't work was because we closed the radio, and then when we pushed it, it looked to close it again. Now what we can do there is what? Yeah, I've already closed the player first. I've just realized how my functions work. So I guess what we have is no way to close the player or turn it off would be the easiest way. So yeah, we're trying to communicate. Well, I mean, I could start having an if statement there to say if it's running. Flow control. I hate flow control. See, I mapped this out a bit differently in my head. So I was going to have the radio stations start to begin with, and then on each of my GPIOs I would have a function that said play the radio, and it would take I don't know, the input pin or whatever's in the argument in the function as the station, and so it would then play that station if a station was already being played. Now what I can do is create a variable to do that and to say whether it's playing already. So like a yeah, so I can test it essentially. Even if I set it to none and I look at, if I do radio gaga.call, it's still going to give me none as a result, even if radio gaga's playing, because it depends on the return code that it kicks out, the process kicks out. So if it doesn't kick out an appropriate return code, then it won't work. Let's do something else, like def running. I mean, this is probably the worst way of doing this, but we'll try it out. These are, let's actually just make it look a little bit nicer. Ball running. And then, okay. So, after we've started it, we want to say running. This is very dirty, but we're doing it anyway. So it is running. We're going to say that. So now we know that this is, oh, well, actually, we can't do that just there because we're defining that before, we're calling that before I've defined the statement. So let's do it down here. So once we do that, we say it's running. Close. So let's say in here, if running ball. So only if it's running are we going to do that. So closed, and then after this definition we're going to put running 1 and yeah, that should do it. Hopefully. Oh God, have I put semicolons? Don't tell me I've put semicolons. Ah, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I could, well, set a local var radio gaga then to none, and then use the local var to write cute and wait radio gaga for none to the top. Oh, sorry, Edward. It's really hard to follow comments because I think it needs a bit more. You need to be able to point to the bit you're referring to. We'll see if this works. Hopefully, hopefully that program flow is correct. No. Ball running is not defined.
English sailors and lions,
Well, that is.
hence why the Americans call us L-words.
Let's try that again. You'll hear the radio still playing while I do this. It'll close itself in a second, hopefully.
People also think New Zealanders get called Kiwis after the bird.
So ball running wasn't defined. Did I spell it incorrectly somewhere? Ball, yeah, I did. Whoa, it just closed. What? Oh, I see what I've done. Let's just get out. I just tried to run it again, didn't I? So we don't want to do that. I spelt ball running incorrectly there, so that is the problem. And then Control exit, and then we'll run.
Earlier that night, when we were in a nightclub, Nathaniel asked me,
Oh, right, though. Did you not want to bring your
"There's so many
girlfriend
fit
down
birds in
here
this
to see
nightclub.
me?"
You want to bring an apple to an orchard? Wouldn't you imagine?
So
So many fit birds in this nightclub. and you want to bring
it's still playing from the last time. Give it a second. We'll just try and close it again.
On one hand, that's pretty clever.
There we go. Okay, so let's exit that since we messed it up. We'll play again. We'll try it again one more time. I don't know if you guys can hear the radio. You'll have to let me know if it's too quiet or not.
As to why Ribo, who we know fully well already has an apple,
So this is radio 4.
sitting in the trees eating all the lovely apples.
I can close it because I know it's playing.
The rest of us, the only reason why we would never
And then I should be able to start one again. So let's start Radio 5 live this time. Bit of a test because we haven't actually tried it yet. Oh, for the for the vigilant amongst you, you'll notice I haven't plugged the wire into the button. There we go. Have a nice day. It's closed, that one, and we're now trying to play the other one.
For us, it's difficult because there's
So we have Radio 5 live playing now. We can exit that. Broken pipe. Okay.
As much as say a survivor from a camp, one has to do
Okie doke.
something as an individual to make life.
Why is that? We defined it. you know what? I don't think we need it as global. Let's try Edward's suggestion of defining it as none, because I don't think it needs to be global. And then we'll see if this works, hopefully. Right, exit. So what we're going to do is try and close it.
Vertically peeled this time. He's lying on the floor calling you a couple of L words.
Oh yeah, that one was mine.
Am I reassigning?
Nice one, Nathaniel. You got him good.
Thanks, Donna. Hey, I was thinking, maybe, if you like, we could go for a stroll around the orchard later?
Romantic.
Yeah, Nathaniel, I think I'd rather like that. The apple orchard or the pear orchard?
Pear orchards! I completely forgot about pear orchards. You'd bring an apple to a pear orchard, wouldn't you? That's like bringing a woman to like a gay bar if you're a straight man. If you're a gay woman, that's like bringing an apple to an apple.
Okay. So I shouldn't now be able to open a new one, or if I do, I won't be able to close it again. So I can open a new one, but I shouldn't be able to close it again is the idea that we're going with now. Yeah, that is the case. So there's a problem with being able to address it after I've closed it. So closed, so once I've closed it, so that's weird because I'm reassigning Radio Gaga there, aren't I? Damn it. So do I need to make Radio Gaga global again? Is that what you're saying? I think you're right. Generally, what I would rather do is I'd put the process to start OMX player in my while loop and just have it conditional as to whether it gets opened, and have station as a global variable that gets changed. And then I don't need to worry about having it defined in a function. I can just close it from a function and then restart it from the while loop. So we'll go with that. Let's give that a go. So we're redefining Radio Gaga as a global variable. We should be able to close it. We know we can close the global variable from within inside a function, or at least, well, we're not closing it, we're sending it some data, so it's a different thing entirely. And then when we're waiting for the process to close. Okay. Now that is a good idea, Alex, passing it as a variable. I won't do that. It sounds easier just to do global. Thank you for the advice. Right, let's write that out and then exit, and then I think we'll make this pretty much the end of the stream. We haven't achieved a massive amount. I'll expand the code a bit in my own time.
Order.
So,
Good evening from
what we did before, we closed the radio station.
Theresa May gives in to demands to set out her Brexit plans for discussion.
I can confirm to the House that our
Eventually.
plan will be set up.
Bloody Theresa May and Brexit. Really annoying. And then we're going to start a new one. So we'll start Radio 5.
BBC 5 Live. Hand up in your house.
And then we'll try and close it again.
Work on constructing a wall along.
Okay. So we've gotten somewhere. That's good. Now can I start again and close? Okay, so
And a new way of
that didn't quite work.
Comes under
Did it?
They're quite literally robbing Peterborough.
Did I press the wrong one? I think I might press the wrong button. Let's just close that down. No, it's trying to play Radio 4 again.
And some Conservative MPs for white paper.
Oh no, because that's not the close button, is it? That's the play Radio 4 button. Exactly. So let's try Radio 5 again. Sorry, I think it's because I'm quite tired now. I think that's probably going to be the end of the stream. So if this starts playing and we can close it,
And the number of people sleeping.
and we'll try playing Radio 4 again. Yeah, thanks Dave. I've just figured that out, but I'm quite tired, so that's the thing. It takes a while to load, doesn't it?
Free trade in goods and services, that will be to the benefit of us.
Closing OMX player. Okay, well, once it closes, there we go. Right, let's just get out of that. Before we leave, oh crap, I've loaded it again. That's the one, let's just close that down. Before we close off the stream, I just want to say thank you very much to everybody for joining me. Oh, there's a little gap here. There wasn't really meant to be. I think this was meant to come down. And you've been extremely helpful. I hadn't actually planned out all of this stuff, so you've witnessed me Forrest Gumping my way through playing it live. So that was fun, at least. This will be the Radio Cube project, so I'll refine this a bit more. I may even make a class. It's very unlikely, but I'll refine this a little bit more and sort out my program flow, because it's not really how I want it to work. It's just a demonstration. And then I'll come back to you when we've started using. We're going to use the MCP 3008, which is a chip to take in analog signals and turn them into digital. It works over I2C or perhaps SPI, I can't really remember. Emily, it is just ending, unfortunately. It's been going for an hour and 34 minutes. Actually, that's probably not true because I'm always late, so it's probably about an hour and 30 minutes. So next time we'll be looking at the MCP 3008, which I'll hook up. I've already downloaded the Adafruit code for that. I'm definitely not writing my own. And we'll hook up some LDRs and see if it works. The idea will be that you'll cover one with your finger in this test. So the one with the darkest, with the least amount of light rather shining on it, will be the one that is the radio station you play. So each one will be mapped to a radio station. And we'll have to choose 4 radio stations that I won't get stung with. So I think Radio 4 and Radio 5 Live are very safe versions. Very safe options rather. So if anyone's got some other ideas, then that would be good. The bounce times should be all right. The bounce time should just mean I can't press the button again. Sorry, I'm jumping between what I'm saying and reading chat. Anyway, that's the end, I think. I'm going to click on the go away button now, but I'll wait for 15 seconds just in case anyone's got any questions to ask in the chat before I go. I can stay up for another 15 minutes or so if needs be. So if anyone's got any questions, just say. Yeah, Edward says turn out the lights and it goes nuts. Yeah, I said at the start of the stream, it's not the ideal way to run your radio at all. I mean, I can do it with buttons. I already know how to do that. I know how to trigger something with a button, which is fine. I can do that. I could throw on a rotary encoder and stick a little menu on a display like a lot of other people have done already. But it isn't fun. And so I've made a little cube on my 3D printer and I've got some speakers. And I just like the idea of having a big Radio 4 logo on one side and the opposing side sitting on the side, and that will and start it up. I could back it up with an ADXL 345 so it can sense its orientation, or I could say if they're all really low then don't play at all. I just thought it would be fun. It doesn't need to be bright light for an LDR to have a different value. If it is completely dark, then it will have a very high resistance. So yeah, it should work. I think it's just a bit of fun. Alternatively, it could be some of those infrared sensors, distance sensors. In fact, I probably have some. Let me see. Sensors. You'll be in here somewhere. That's not the sensors thing. Yeah, so I've got a bunch of these. These are sort of infrared distance sensors is what they're generally used for. So I could use these and have those on the top and bottom, so it will shine infrared, and if it detects enough of it, then we know that that surface is the one facing the table, but they draw a fair amount of current, so I just fancy my stupid little way of doing it. All right, I'm going to guess there are no extra questions. So thank you very much for coming. It was a long old stream, wasn't it? Anyway, peace out, guys, and I will see you next time. And I don't know if you have any other questions, leave them in the non-live video at the end when it publishes later on, or just hit me up on Twitter. All right, bye.